Hello, my name is Zanelle Nguriathi and I am a counseling psychologist. I'm also a wellness coach with Nafsi Wellness, and today I am a guest at Horizon TV hosting this episode of Behaviour Change. And today I'm going to be talking about mental strength. When you think about mental strength as a viewer, where does your mind go to? For some cases, if I were to give you a minute to think about it, what would come to your mind? Now, I've asked this question to some non-therapists, and I've come up with a bunch of answers. To some people, they believe mental strength ni kuvumilia, staying tough, staying true to whatever it is you're going through, holding on regardless of the circumstances. Other people will say or have said that it means never showing any emotions or never crying. Other people will say adaptability in situations that change from time to time. No matter what life brings at you, you're able to adapt and be better. Now, mental strength means a lot of things to many different people, but I can tell you what it is not. Mental strength is not sitting and suffering. Mental strength is not hiding your emotions. Mental strength is not masking your actual emotions in favor of what people want to see. Okay? All right. So now that we've started talking about what mental strength is not, I'm going to give you like an opportunity where you are as a viewer to just think about any and all instances where you've spoken to someone about what mental strength is or what like your culture says mental strength is, and take a minute to really think about what I've just told you versus what you actually know and compare the two so that you can find out for yourself what is mental strength to you really as a viewer, and how have you, if at any one point, how have you exhibited mental strength? If I were to have a conversation with you and I was to ask you what makes you strong mentally, what would you say? Right? So now that we are starting to identify what the image of mental strength is, let's look at the other spectrum. So when you're building strength, that means you're working from a point where you're not strong at all. You're working from a point of weakness. You're working from a point of powerlessness, right? And when you're powerless, what do? You sit down and you lick your wounds. You tell yourself sorry, or you cry about it, or you find new ways to deal with the weaknesses that you have at the end of the day. Now, when we're at the end of the spectrum, there are many who want to do that but can't do that. Now, what do we call that? We call that self-pity. Okay? Self-pity is now you're kind of caring and supporting yourself, but you find that the thought pattern around the experience you're having, and I want to give like a really specific experience. Like, we just had the national exams come out recently, and there are many students who were able to achieve their academic goals while other people were not. So take for an instance, you're a student who was not able to accomplish their academic goals. Then what? What is the way forward? So then they start lamenting and they start, oh my God, it's more so, oh, other people have passed. Oh, like, what am I going to do? It's rooted in, why is this happening to me? What could I have possibly done to deserve this after how hard I worked? There's all these negative thoughts that are coming into play. They're coming into play. And what are they doing? They're keeping that person in a place of self-pity. Now, let's say, for example, they got a D or an E. What would be a good way to demonstrate mental strength or to start building mental strength? It would be to acknowledge, yes, it is a loss, for sure. It is a loss, but it has already happened. And go through the emotions that accompany such a loss one, which is hurt feelings, because you've lost the dreams that you had worked so hard for. So now you have to sit back down and reframe the picture. With the exam results that you have, what is a way forward? Not lingering in what has already happened is a good way to avoid the pot of self-pity, the pot of powerlessness, the pot of helplessness, the pot where you are a victim of circumstance. You're reclaiming your power by choosing to navigate the narrative, to change the perspective of the narrative and put yourself in a position where you can actually do something about it. And what would that look like? That would look like, specifically pertaining to this result, finding out what alternative schooling systems or what skills you can build outside of university. Are there polytechnic universities? Are there online courses? You know, these are still avenues that you can go on to improve your skill set. So that's a specific way. Another way, if you're finding that you're having a difficult time digesting the loss and grieving over the dreams that you had of getting an A, B, C, or D, depending on whatever your goals were, then another alternative would be to speak to a healthcare professional, seek out a therapist who can help you process that loss until the emotions no longer have a hold of your thinking patterns and thus your behavior. Yeah? All right, let's talk about like why pity parties happen. Pity parties is when you're just mellowing and wallowing in helplessness. Yeah? Sometimes you just don't want to do anything. So it's easy to see the world from a point of helplessness. It's easy to see yourself like, this has happened to me, because life does bring a barrage. You know, just the minute you're done with, you've just gotten a job, you lose your job. Yeah, you've not managed your finances. Before you know it, someone is in an accident, or, you know, life happens to all of us one way or another. And our mental strength is indicative of our ability to process these things, because then it means that we have the resources and we have the ability to implement it in our lives. Yeah. Another reason people hold pity parties, that's wallowing in their helplessness, is because that's their way of asking for help. In a lot of our communities, seeking help is stigmatized. It's seen as, you know, being a have-not. It's associated with poverty. It's associated with weakness. And even though you might not have the resources, at some point, like, your pride as an individual is like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. But how will you ask for help if you are not able to actively communicate? It's a two-way street. For other people to help you, you need to ask for help. And for you to ask for help, you need to come to the realization that you're unable to deal with the circumstance. And now you're letting another person who is more qualified to come and aid you in whatever way they have overcome it with, right? It's more so a remembrance that we all make mistakes every day, and life happens to all of us at the end of the day. And so the minute we learn to ask for help, then we open up that connection of vulnerability. And little by little, that's how community builds. Community, community, community. Another reason why people hold pity parties is for bragging rights. You've had instances where someone will share, Aki, I was robbed recently, and then someone will add, hata mi niliibiwa last week. You know, even me, I was held at, I was abducted. You know, like, it's, thank you for expressing, but at the same time, if someone has started to express their need for help by sharing what happened to them now, then it's not an opportunity for you to offload something that happened to you prior that you didn't think fit to share. And now what you're doing is you're minimizing someone's need, someone's experience with what they went through. Okay? And sometimes self-pity parties are ways in which people ask for help. Because once people start talking about, oh, by then niliibiwa, instead of asking for help, it's more so, this is the circumstance, and it's prepping for a way to ask for help. You know, now there's that type of consideration going forward. Okay, so just to recap, we've talked about mental strength, what it is, what it looks like, misconceptions, and we have also talked about what's on the other spectrum of mental strength, which is the opposite of strength is weakness, so to speak. So when you're weak and you're lounging in your helplessness, then you're having a pity party. And now we are talking about the reasons why people hold pity parties, so to speak. Okay. Now, when I talk about building mental health, mental strength, there are three approaches, three areas that we need to think about. That's the thoughts, that's the behavior, and that's the emotions. Now, this is how thought processes work. So what happens is a situation happens, and a situation is basically anything that you're interacting with the environment. What you hear, how you interact with other people, the smells, the sounds, what you're consuming in your devices, what you're consuming on the outside world, all of those are situations. Now take, for example, this situation in particular. We're having a show, right? And you are watching the show, right? That's the situation. As you're watching, you're having thoughts about the show that is happening, right? Now, these shows could be positive, these thoughts could be positive or negative, right? And so these thoughts trigger emotions, yes? So when they trigger emotions, you could either feel calm. You could say, oh, her voice is so relaxing. Yes, I'm plugging my voice. My voice is so relaxing. So it's making me feel calm. And the behavior that comes after that emotion is that now you want to listen a little bit more to what I'm saying. So to speak, this is how the thoughts go. So as I am wrapping this up, I would like to challenge you to resort to that format. So there's the situation, the thought, the emotion, and the behavior. Observe it in that process as you're interacting with the environment, and then note what is your capacity to deal with situations. What is your level of mental strength? Or are you someone who deals with pity parties? And do so in the comment section and let us know what works for you and what doesn't. Yes, as I've said before, my name is Zanelle Nguriathi, and I am a therapist and wellness coach at Nafsi Wellness, and I am so happy to be here at Horizon TV for the Behaviour Change channel. Yes, until next time.